Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So we are on day 6 and the second week. I'm sure that those who have been disciplined have already finished political thought as well as political ideologies. So we conducted a poll on Saturday after the 5 days were over, and I asked students that how many of them have actually written. So many of them have written less than 5 answers, okay, and only few have written all the days. Reason, some of them have said that they have EPFO exam. So a point that I want to make is it's very important that you follow the daily discipline, okay. If you are not writing the EPFO exam, or if you have not written it, and if still you are not able to inculcate that level of discipline, then there is some problem, because we have been uploading the notes every day. I have been very regular with the questions and the videos as well. And after that also, somebody who is grilling you, somebody who is training you, after that also if you are not able to write, then there is certainly a problem. You need to write, you need to get evaluation, and only then your momentum will be building, okay. So in this regard, you can for evaluation subscribe, so that you will be more disciplined in this manner, okay, because there will be more accountability when you will not write. I will be grilling you to write, fine. So let's move today to the concept of justice. Now, so if we look at the concept of justice, it is very important for your examination. Every year there is a question on some aspect of justice, whether it is comparing RAWLS with the Greek or with Dr. Ambedkar, or whether it is the critiques of RAWLS, be it the entitlement theory, the feminist critique, or be it even the communitarian critique, okay. So very, very important. RAWLS is as a thinker. This is very much applicable not only to paper 1 of GS, but also important for GS paper 2 for your ethics. Even for essay you can begin, all right, with the ideas of justice as fairness, where such kind of questions will come, all right. So let's see what are the components that you should have studied within justice. So yes, what is the concept? Then what are the basis of this, the distributive justice? Then procedural and substantive justice, what is the key difference? Okay, there can be a comparison short note. Then Plato's theory, Aristotle's theory, linking this Greek theory with RAWLS theory of justice. Then completely, what is the philosophy of RAWLS, what is influences, what is his methodology, okay, key statements, his theory. Then how he criticizes utilitarianism, what are the various short notes that can come also, original position, wheel of ignorance principles, reflective equilibrium, communitarian critique, then how RAWLS responds in the other works, okay, how he is responding to this communitarian critique. Amartya Sen's idea has not been asked yet, so it can come in the paper. Libertarian critique, the feminist critique, then the global application of justice as fairness, and Poji's criticism about the same, okay, Marxist, socialist, and what has been RAWLS' contribution. So very comprehensively prepare, okay, don't leave any aspect untouched. Question can emerge from anywhere, okay, and you have to understand it in an integrated whole on various grounds. Like what are the grounds of comparison only that come within the geek as well as the RAWLS idea? What are the grounds of comparison that we make between the communitarian critique of RAWLS? What are the principles of RAWLS they criticize? What grounds they criticize? Or on what methodology they criticize? So you have to be very clear with this idea of RAWLS, okay. Once you understand RAWLS, then the backward and forward linkages also will be easy, okay. So let's move now. To day 6. All right. So day 6. Let's see the first question. The first question is reading, to what extent RAWLS' idea of justice as fairness resolves the tension between liberty and equality. So, three values: justice, liberty and equality. And to what extent his theory of justice as fairness is making a reconciliation in the contradictions that have been existing. So, where will we begin this question from? Okay. So, do we begin this question with justice as a concept? Okay, we can start with justice as a concept. Do we start this as RAWLS, or do we talk about the values that are in debate within the question? Okay, so we start this question with the values that are in debate, all right? And in this regard, so what are these values? Okay, so we talk that justice, liberty and equality are normative values of normative political theory. Okay, now, so there has been a lot of contest on the meaning of these values and the relationship between them, on the meaning of these values, each of them, as well as what is the relationship in all of them. And scholars have not been unanimous about the same. So their relation is contested. Then you talk that justice as a value, says Ernest Barker, that the contradictions that have been existing. So what have been the contradictions? So yes, liberty and equality, whether they are contradictory or whether they are complementary ideas, has been a matter of debate since time immemorial. Okay, and the idea of equality deepened okay, as a modern idea very much later. Fine. So different scholars from time immemorial have always contested the relationship between equality and liberty. But how will we link justice with these two ideas? So we say Ernest Barker points that justice, liberty and equality, okay, justice is the golden thread, or it is justice which brings out the contradictions and complementarities between these ideas and links them into an integrated whole or reconciles them. So we explain all these things first. What is the role actually justice is supposed to do with the relationship between these ideas? Okay. So you can also draw a diagram, like you can talk of liberty here, equality here, fraternity here, and what is the common idea in all of them? You can talk of justice. Okay. So this kind of an innovation will show the examiner that you have understood. Now, so it is justice which is reconciling the contradictions that exist. So when justice enters, for example, when justice enters the sphere of liberty, liberty no more remains what? Negative. It becomes positive, it becomes enabling, and it has, liberty is one where it is positive liberty for all. Okay. When justice enters equality, equality does not remain procedural, it becomes substantive. Okay. When justice enters fraternity, what will happen? Each individual will, come together, work in the common brotherhood for everyone as a whole. So it is justice which is reconciling the contradictions that exist within them as values. This is the first part of the question. Okay. So we talk of them as values, how there has always been a contest in meaning and their relationship, how Ernest Barker calls them golden thread. Then you draw this diagram. Okay. The next part of the question is that you have to say that justice as fairness and what is Rawls trying to do. So you have to understand the context of his theory. What is the context of his theory? Which time is he talking of this theory? So there was a decline of political theory. Okay, there was a significant crisis to which political science was not able. So he has revived this theory. So his theory is like a post-behavioral theory, which is bringing in revival of what? Revival of normative theory. And that's why his idea is more value based and not only scientific like the movement of behavioralism brought. So first के reconciliation करने का जो idea है वो उसके दिमाग में ही है. He is reviving that. He is emphasizing on these values. Is it clear? Then we talk about what has been this reconciliation. So first we talk of the classical liberals and the libertarians. Okay, what is their idea of liberty? And how for Rawls this liberty is what? It is just a facilitative mechanism, okay, for maximization of other liberties. So he is not doing the stringent protection as such like the classical liberals and the libertarians are seeking. He is saying liberty is a facility, okay, which will be enabling maximization of other liberties. All right. Then we compare with the idea of equality. So yes, the equality of opportunity has been a strict idea within whom? Within the liberal school of thought. And he is obviously talking of justice as fairness in the liberal framework only. But how he reconciles the debate between liberty and equality? Let's see. Okay. So this equality of opportunity, which is a liberal idea, on the other hand, Marxists have talk of equality of outcome, and equality of outcome is focusing not on only procedural aspect, it is also focusing on the substantive aspect of justice. It is focusing on the substantive aspect. And here for this, to address this criticism of socialists, he brings in the difference principle. He brings in the difference principle. So first we have explained the post-behavioral context, then the problem of liberty, then the problem of equality of opportunity. So actually he is reconciling the liberal as well as the egalitarian school of thought, which emphasize on equality, we know that. Now, then we take up every principle, and what are the principles of justice as fairness, okay. So first you talk of the equal liberty, then we talk of the second principle, equality of opportunity, and then within this only how he is talking of difference principle, and why he is justifying this difference principle, right. So he is justifying this on the basis that it will be of benefit to the least advantaged sections of society. It will not lead to meritocratic society. It will not lead to meritocracy. Why? Because equality of opportunity brings on what basis? It brings meritocracy in society. It brings meritocracy, right? And this is what Rawls is saying, no, it will not only be based on this kind. We will bring the difference principle to help and those who are the least advantaged, okay. So everything will not only be based on talents, obviously we will recognize talents, that part is also important, but so in this way he is pointing. Then it is very important that we say that why he has brought this reconciliation, because he is not focusing on this liberal equality. His idea of equality is not liberal equality. His idea of equality is democratic equality. Democratic equality. इसका मतलब क्या है? Democratic equality, which means even if the second and third principle are in the lexical order, which means equality of opportunity come first before difference principle. Actually, he says both of them operate as a unit, and you cannot separate them. One will follow the other very naturally and very much needed. So he does not distinguish between them. He says it is a unit and it works, and in implementation of social policies, this is only going to happen. All right. So we have brought in how he has brought this reconciliation by bringing in democratic equality. Then we say the criticism after all this also that comes to whom? Comes to Rawls. And the criticism comes from whom? The criticism comes from Sane. Okay? I'm sorry. It comes from the Marxist and the socialist. Sane and others also criticize, but here we will be talking of more in the sense of whom? In the sense of the Marxist criticism. So give Gerald Cohen's view that yes, his idea is actually to emphasize on the protection of liberty, and difference principle, again he is just doing it for the sake of it. Okay. Now, so then how do we conclude? That even if there has been criticism, okay, Rawls is a key thinker, how he has revived the entire tradition, how he has actually, you know, brought the liberal egalitarian school of thought rather than the liberal utilitarian school of thought to the idea of justice, how he has actually enriched justice within liberalism itself, okay, and how he has made the idea of justice more plural. Why he has made it more plural? Because of his idea, many other ideas came in his own context only, like be it Sane, the communitarian, the feminist, the cosmopolitan scholars, everybody is writing either against Rawls or favoring some principle of Rawls. So that's why he has also made the whole idea of justice in contemporary times more plural. Okay. So we talk about his key contribution in the, and he has obviously reconciled this debate. Okay. Now is this much understood? So how we took, now here obviously the key ingredients of the principles would come, but from where to start, where to talk? So we were focusing on the normative values. We were talking about revival of political theory by post-behavioralism, synthesizing emphasis on values, overcoming the fact-value dichotomy, and this way you could have criticized, okay, whatever challenges and how he is reconciling. Fine? Clear? Now let's move to the next question. To what extent Rawls and Sane's concept of justice are mutually exclusive and mutually inclusive? Mutually exclusive and mutually inclusive. Okay. So question 2 is comparison between Rawls and Sane, and we are talking of to what extent they are exclusive as well as inclusive. What do you understand by this exclusivity and inclusivity? Which means to what extent they are different from each other. To what extent they are inclusive, which means they are in continuity with each other, in similarity with each other. This is what the question is asking. Okay. So where do we begin this question when we are talking of comparison? Should I start with Sane or should I start with Rawls? No, we should start with the general idea of justice. Okay. So here first you give, in the question 2 you give the introduction and you will talk about the concept of justice. What you will talk? Concept of justice. Give a general definition, okay, standard of impartiality and fairness, okay, for distribution of resources and punishment. All right. Then you talk of a key statement on justice, like you can give Plato's statement like justice is a bond that holds society together, or you can say that it is, Rawls says justice is the virtue of social institution, just like truth of any system of thought. All right. So give Rawls statement. So we are defining how Rawls is also looking at this particular idea, right? And Rawls define justice as fairness. Now, then we say that yes, different scholars have given different concepts of justice, and this concept remains contested, and there has not been any other term which has, whose meaning has altered so much like the concept of justice. Who says this? It is Melian-Stivell. So talk about this contestation. Melian-Stivell. Okay, fine. Then we will be talking of, after this contestation, what is the relation that is there between Rawls and Sane. So Sane is actually, first talk of their work. Work is, one is idea of justice and one is the theory of justice. Okay. So Sane is influenced by Rawls also, and he is criticizing Rawls also, and his work is another extension of Rawls only. whatever he is writing is an extension of RAWLS only. Okay, you point this out. Then we explain how they are mutually exclusive. Each parameter I will discuss in detail, don't worry. Mutually exclusive. Okay, so first idea we will be talking of is the methodology. Methodology. What is the methodology? What is RAWLS doing? So RAWLS is doing a social contract, okay, and he is bringing in the original position. So what does he say? He talks that it is a rational choice. It is a rational choice made by reasoned individuals, okay. On the other hand, Sen says no, it should actually be, rather than being behind this wheel of ignorance and doing a rational, arriving at a rational procedure, it should actually be located within the actual circumstances. So it should be a social choice. It is a social choice. The second idea, okay, is deontological as well as and teleological. So right, teleological, which means we have a end and purpose in mind, all right. But what is RAWLS method? RAWLS method is deontological, which means he does not have the end and purpose within mind. He says, I will create just institution. The automatic result of that will be justice, okay, fair institutions, if I establish institutions which are correct. On the other hand, he says no, it is teleological. We have to be worried of the consequence, what we are seeking to do. So here he brings in the difference in the approach of Sen, brings the difference in the approach of Krishna and Arjun. Okay, so Krishna was deontological, okay, and Arjun's position was teleological, because in Mahabharata he said the war will lead to so much bloodshed, so I should not do the war. But what did Krishna say? No, you should not worry of the consequences. Why? Because what is your purpose in, what is it that we are doing this war as a part of dharma, okay, so you don't have to worry of anything. But Arjun says no, this will lead to, but Sen says Arjun's position was better because he knew of the consequences that will happen, okay. So first idea we have understood is on the methodology, rational choice and social choice, and deontological and teleological method, okay, and teleological method is consequential. Then the second context is this transcendental institutionalism. Now what is the concept of transcendental institutionalism? Okay, so transcendental institutionalism was started by the social contract theorists. They wanted to establish institutions which will be like by the means of the social contract, and which will eventually help people to live in a better life, okay. So it was brought by Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau. It is brought in with this manner. So the whole idea, even RAWLS is applying, is that he is establishing pure procedural, okay, and he is establishing what? Social institutions. His entire idea that agar institutions are good, then everything that results from them will be good, and it is the duty, okay, of the social institutions to ensure fair terms of distribution, okay. On the other hand, Sen is very critical that too much focus on institutions. Institutions everywhere are not same, they are diverse. Like the judiciary in India cannot be compared with the judiciary that exists in Pakistan, okay. To what extent the protection of people's rights are there in the Supreme, it is done by the Supreme Court of India. You can't expect it in another society. So if the institution is just, which means people's rights will be violated, okay. So don't focus on this transcendental institutional setup. You should focus on the realization based approach and not on this transcendental institutionalism, okay. So second, Sen is saying we should be more practical in this sense, and he criticizes the third context is the original position, okay. So original position, what does RAWLS say? How does Sen contradict this original position? Original position. So Rawls say that people are behind the wheel of ignorance in this original position. They don't know too much about each other's economic status and other things. They only know, that they have a basic reasonable mind and they are able to negotiate. So in this original position that Rawls is trying to establish, what does Sen is saying? Sen is saying it is very difficult to come at consensus, because Rawls uses original position to arrive at consensus. So Sen says no, we can't arrive at consensus. Everybody looks at justice from their own perspective, from their own interest. So any person who is in this kind of an original position, okay, or in this hypothetical imaginary construct will not be helpful. So Sen is giving the story of whom? 3 children, okay, Anne, Bob and Carla. And then he says that through this story he is explaining that these children are not able to distribute the flute, okay, because all of them have that who should get the flute, everybody has reasonable argument. So when these children are not able to do, how we can do in real life, okay. So he is criticizing this original position, all right. Now the next concept is realization focused justice, which means what does Sen say? So Sen is saying that our justice should focus more on minimization of sufferings. We should be moving to reduce injustice, to minimize injustice, and not arrive only at what are the justice principles. So it should be more realization based, which means if we reduce injustice, तो justice धीरे धीरे आ ही जाएगा, okay. So he is talking of Buddha, how Buddha is also seeking for minimization of sufferings, but Rawls is moving only to, trying to bring like a universal idea of justice. He is bringing in this ideal theory and he is not focusing on this realization aspect, says Sen. The realization aspect, okay, clear? Now even the liberty and equality principle, so that we already did. So what does Sen say? That yes, for him liberty is very much more important and it is not something that Rawls is ready to compromise on. But we have seen that how Rawls is using this as a facility for the protection of other things, okay, for maximization of other advantages, all right. This is what Rawls is actually sought and how he has even addressed it later in his other works, fine. So if we have to show to what extent they are inclusive, so first idea we say that the gap that is there between Rawls and Sen is very less, okay. Why? Because both disagree with the utilitarian principle of maximization of greatest happiness of greatest number. Both of them have focusing on individual. No inviolability should happen of the justice and the rights of an individual, okay. So on this principle both of them agree, and it is very difficult that how Rawls in the later writings, in the Laws of the People, Political Liberalism, he aspects many practical things also that can be done. Though in the theory of justice he is giving an architectonic monumental principle, but yes, later on he addresses the critiques that have come to him and tries to bring in change, okay. So we can say that there is difference. They are not actually same side of the same coin. They are different, but we still say what? They are mutually inclusive, all right. So Sen's effort is more in enriching and extending what Rawls has said. Is it clear? So this aspects you should have open, these dimensions you should have open and reconcile the debate like that, all right. So I hope justice is done, all right. Briefly you've got the whole context. Now any other doubt you can post them in the comments, and I will suggest that all those students who are not able to inculcate discipline in the first week, please subscribe for evaluation so that there is an accountability mechanism. Not with any commercial purpose or gains. I am anyway going to do this program for all of you as I have promised, but it brings an accountability mechanism when you will be writing every day and getting it evaluated, rather than staying in an imaginary construct of your world of your own. Okay? Fine. Thank you so much. All the best. Take care.